It's time for another Dirt Daily. Today's Dirt Daily is brought to you by Best Top. Best Top has been making tops for Jeeps almost as long as Jeeps have been being made. They built the first Jeep in 1940, 1941, depending on if you count the prototypes. And Best Top has been making tops for Jeeps since 1954. So 14 years they made Jeeps, and then Best Top was like, hey, we probably need to make some new tops for these Jeeps. Best Top makes a lot of things these days. They make tops for old Jeeps, they make tops for new Jeeps. They also own a bunch of other companies that you've probably heard of. Baja Design makes off-road lights, PRP makes racing seats, S-Pod makes the control box that I use on a lot of my Jeeps to turn on lights and other accessories. They also own Tuffy Security and a company called Illumines. Illumines makes aluminum bumpers. They're really popular in the van scene, the van life crowd, because everybody builds out these vans and they overload them. They almost break the gross vehicle weight rating of the vans. And so Illumines makes aluminum bumpers and stuff like that to help keep the weight of the vehicles down. But today we are not installing a Best Top at all. Today I am going to work on that Jeep back there. But before we do that, I want to talk about the flat fender. Everybody loves the flat fender, and here's a quick little update. The last time I worked on the flat fender, I filled the transmission and transfer case up with a mixture of acetone and ATF. This is like a cheap penetrating oil that you can get, that you can make yourself, and it's great for breaking down rust and gunk. The transfer case would not spin. I filled it up with that stuff and it broke loose. Whatever grime was on the gears and bearings in there has broken loose. And so I filled it up with that ATF acetone mixture and I just kind of let it sit. Since then, I have drained it all out and I just put some gear lube in it. I also, the last time, removed the fuel tank. I don't know if the fuel tank is good enough to reuse yet. I haven't really dove into it, but somebody in the comments did tell me that they don't think it is the right gas tank for this Jeep. They think it's a CJ5 tank. So I'm gonna look into that. You can actually get a new gas tank for an old flat fender for about 250 bucks. I think Quadratec sells them. Quadratec's a big Jeep supply house. So if that tank is not good enough, we may just bite the bullet and buy a cheapo replacement. Sometimes investing in a new tank is better than trying to fix an old tank, because if you can't get all the rust out, you're going to end up clogging fuel filters and messing up fuel pumps, and the thing won't run right. So that is an option if that fuel tank is not good enough. In addition, I refilled the transmission and transfer case with some gear lube, which that was another funny thing somebody mentioned in the comments. What gear lube do I use? To be honest, this is an old Jeep. Whatever gear lube I put in it is probably going to leak out. I just got a 5-gallon bucket of 80-90 weight from my local tractor store and put that in it because that's what the instruction manual said, the old Jeep manual. They specify 80-90 weight. I don't know what the argument is. Apparently there's people discussing about what is the proper or the best gear lube to put in these. So comment below if you have some opposing opinion as to 80-90 weight, if there's some other thing. Honestly, at this point, anything is better than the rusty water that was in the transmission and transfer case. So putting in gear lube now is just preventative to help kind of loosen everything up. The cool thing is the Jeep now rolls back and forth. So if I need to get something else on the lift, I can move the Jeep, push it off into a corner, where before the rear end was all locked up because the transfer case wouldn't spin. I hooked the drive shaft back up and now it can roll back and forth. So we're gonna do one little project on the Jeep, on the flat fender, just as a preparation for future project. We're gonna do one little thing to this, and then we're gonna do a little bit of work on NewbSock, my JL. So let's get to work. We know the gearboxes in the Jeep will turn. We know the axles in the Jeep will turn. I'm not talking about driving. I'm just saying that they turn, which is better than it was before. What we don't know is if the engine will turn. Before we even figure out if we can make it run, we just want to see if we can turn it by hand. And this Jeep is the L-head engine, so it's a flat head engine. And before I put a big breaker bar on the crank and see if I can spin it, I want to pull the spark plugs out. If the spark plugs are in there and there's any compression at all, you're just fighting that to try and get the engine to turn over by hand. So I want to pull the spark plugs. These engines, however, have a weird little inherent design flaw that can make it difficult to remove the spark plugs. So this is the L-head engine, and it's a flathead engine, but it does have these weird little depressions where each spark plug screws into the head of the engine. And that can cause a problem. You can see how rusty these spark plugs are from years of rainwater getting in underneath the hood and dripping right down onto the head and then rusting out around those spark plugs. In fact, there's already some water or something sitting in there around those. So what we're going to do today is I'm going to blast around each of those spark plugs with compressed air, and then we're going to fill up those same depressions with that acetone ATF mixture and just let it soak. This is kind of the slow, boring part of the project where we just have to let the spark plugs soak. Just let it soak for 24 hours, 48 hours, and then we can come back and see if we can get them to unscrew out of the head. Otherwise, we might break them off, we might screw up the head, and I just want to get the old spark plugs out so we can figure out if we can turn the engine over by hand. Throw a rag over this. I just want to get this mixture of acetone and ATF down into the depressions around each spark plug. So I'm going to fill these up. There we go. A nice concoction. What's kind of cool is you can see right in there between those two spark plugs it says Jeep in the head, and then on this side it's kind of hard to see, it actually says Willys in the head. Willys, whatever you want to say. So this is our mixture of acetone and ATF. We're just going to let that soak around each spark plug and put the Jeep back up on the lift, and we'll go work on something else. The little Jeep is up on the lift. Got it up out of the way. We're going to let those spark plugs soak. There's the transfer case that I filled up with gear lube. There's the gear lube already leaking out on the floor. Situation normal. While the spark plugs soak in the flat fender, we're going to do a little side quest on this Jeep. This is my 2018 Jeep JL that I call NewbSock. And I know that a lot of you are probably old Jeep fans, and you probably don't like these new Jeeps because they've got too much plastic or too much computers or whatever reason that you don't like them. But the fact of the matter is there are probably more of you driving one of these than driving a flat fender. And there's good reason. I mean, these things drive down the road nice. You could hop in it and drive it across America and still run trails. This one was a theft recovery, and it was a sport model, so it didn't have a whole bunch of accessories. And over the past year or so, I have been building it up, making it into more of a trail rig that you can still drive down the road. You could do that the same thing in the flat fender. It would just be more of an adventure. But these are great for everyday use. And the other cool thing about the new JLs and JKs is that people make everything for them. There's so many accessories, and you don't have to custom fab everything. You can literally just bolt stuff on. Today's project is pretty simple, pretty cut and dry, but I think some of you might actually appreciate this. We're literally gonna put some seat covers on the Jeep. And this Jeep already has seat covers on from Best Top. You will need to unbolt the seats, and there's 4 bolts, and there's 2 plugs underneath, and then the seat will just pretty much lift out. These seat covers are from Best Top. I've had them on for probably a year and a half now, and they're fine. There's nothing wrong with them. They do their job. They protect the seat. And in my case, the seat was kind of ratty from being a theft recovery, and so I put these on. They have an opening on the side here for airbags, and they're great. They're just kind of boring. And I was talking to PRP, which is the seat company that is part of the Best Top family, and they were like, why don't you try our seat covers? And I was like, well, what's the difference? Why would I want your seat covers over the Best Top ones? And they're like, because you can design them yourself. And I was like, what? So you can go on to the PRP website and find the page for the seat covers. In fact, you can find the page for all of their seats, but for the seat covers specifically, you go in there and you can pick the pattern that you want. You can change the colors, you can change the center section, you can change the stitching. You can do all of these upgrades on your own. And I thought, that's kind of cool. Nothing against NewbSock and its very black and white color scheme that it has going on there, but I think that spicing it up might make it a little bit more fun to drive. Maybe not. Maybe it'll still be just as fun to drive. But I did think I would try out something different because I kind of had these on for a while and, switch it up a little. So today we're going to put some different seat covers on. I will show you the color scheme that I picked, and you can pick out whatever you want for your JL. First things first, we're going to remove the old seat cover, and you're also going to want to not only remove the cover off of the seat, but you'll want to get in here and remove the headrests. So you push these little tabs in and this will slide right out. You're going to put a brand new cover on this part as well. We'll set that inside. The other thing that's kind of nice is when you pull your seat out, put your new seat covers in, you can not only find all your spare change that's dropped down behind the, in between the seats and the center console, you can also get in there and vacuum up all the dog hair. Look, there's even hardware. There's like some little tiny screw, just like stuff that has gotten lost over the year and a half of driving this thing. Man, this thing is gross. Wonder why. There's nothing to do with the fur balls that ride around in this Jeep with me. All right, we're gonna set this Best Top seat cover aside. Maybe we'll pass it on to a buddy, or maybe we'll put it back on someday. My passenger seat, it's not in terrible shape. There's a big old cigarette burn right up here. There's another one right there. There's some stains. So it's not great, but it's not terrible. That's why I think, in fact, there's another cigarette burn back there in the back. That's why I'm going to just put seat covers on it rather than replace it. Nowadays, you could probably find leather seats out of a nicer model like a Rubicon or Sahara if you really wanted leather. You could also look into converting these seats to like a PRP suspension seat. However, these have an integrated airbag, and there's also like a sensor in the bottom of the seat that recognizes if somebody's sitting in the seat. And there's ways around that you can kind of jerry-rig it so that it works and it doesn't have a light on. I don't think I want to go that route. As far as I'm concerned, having the airbag in this is probably not the worst idea. There is a little plastic piece that goes around this lever, and so you're going to want to pop that out. And I think you have to have the lever up, and then you get that out of the way. Oh, look, I just broke it. Well, that's a bummer. Might need to track down another one of these. Plastic parts. I mean, I get it. You wouldn't see the plastic part breaking off of the flat fender because it wouldn't have any plastic parts. It doesn't even have any seats. Let's find those seat covers. There it is. This is the style I went with. Kind of a olive green, kind of light green with orange stitching, and then like a brown center fabric piece. This is the bottom panel. There's actually a different panel from the driver's side to the passenger side. So if you, when you are setting this up, if one of these bottom pieces has like a slit in the side for the adjuster, that is for the driver's side. This one, passenger side, I'm just gonna slide this in here. The first piece kind of gets stuffed underneath here, and then you'll have a bunch of these straps that are on the side here. They have Velcro, and they will reach underneath and Velcro around each other to connect. It's a good idea to install this on a warm day, or let the fabric kind of sit in the office or by a little heater or something to kind of warm it up, or set it out in the sunlight so that it gets soft and pliable. Hello, don't fall over. And then you're going to find this fabric and kind of pull it through the back section of the seat. There it goes. And then these side pieces, they're going to go above your slider, this metal bracket. Don't put them underneath here, or they'll get caught up in it. Once the bottom panel's on, you'll grab the back. It has a zipper that runs down the side. You're going to want to undo that. And then this also has Velcro that kind of holds it all together. And the passenger side, or the outside edge of the seat, has an opening, because there's actually an airbag that's right in here that you want to be able to have that explode if it needs to. So we'll slide this over. I think I have it backwards. Here we go. I had it backwards. I was putting the driver's side on the passenger side. Now, all of this goes over this. You'll notice that it has a hole at the top for that latch. And everything will just kind of work down on here. There's some holes at the top that you'll kind of work around the little, there's kind of like these little plastic washers, and the headrest goes down through those. I thought this airbag thing was on the outside, but maybe it isn't. Maybe it's on the inside. I watched an install video on PRP's website, and it seems like the real trick is to kind of get it on and stretch it and pull it and work it all down into its position. Get it to go around all of the hard plastic parts on the top of the seat. After wrestling the top on, all that's left is the headrest. It has a little rubber tab tag. That goes on the back face of it. And then it also has some Velcro straps that hold it into place. I think the real trick with all this is that it's like you get it on and then you kind of wrestle it and squeeze it and stretch it and get it to go around all of the corners and edges. Try to get it back square. And then this will just drop right down in there. Once you have the headrest and all the brackets back in, the last step is to just kind of work the fabric down around the seats. I'll probably bolt these back in and then park the Jeep with the heat on and just let it cook, and then open the doors and kind of work them, try to get all this fabric to kind of settle in. Eventually, as people sit in it, ride in it, and dogs hop in and out of it, it's going to even contour even more around the seats. So if you're looking for seat covers or seats, PRP has custom seat covers and custom suspension seats. Best Top also sells seats, like old replacement seats for old CJs, as well as seat covers for the JL, like what we took out of it. So that's it for this Dirt Daily. When we return, we will dive back into the flat fender and try to figure out if we can get the engine to turn over. But for now, I'm going to put this back in, do the driver's seat, and get the Jeep ready to go wheeling. We'll see you guys next time. I was right. I touched base with PRP and there's a little mistake on the seat covers, at least just on the back section. The airbag opening should be on the outside, not on the inside. So I can't just switch them because the little hole for the lever to flip it forward is on the outside, but the airbag opening should also be on the outside. So PRP is going to step up and replace the backs on both of these, and we'll be right back in business. See you guys next time.